welcome back to Fluttering Butterflies. My name is Michelle, and for this video I really wanted to talk to you about reading outside of our comfort zones and what that means for each of us. For me, and I will talk about this more in a later video when I show you my unread shelves tour that I have coming up, there are certain books that I put off reading more than others because they're kind of out of my comfort zone. The first type of book are overly chunky books. I don't know what it is, but hopefully it's just a phase, but anything over 300 pages kind of makes me feel a little bit antsy, which means I put off all of these 300 plus books quite a lot, and I do have many of them, so chunky books, they put me off. I feel like I'm doing something brave almost by picking up a really chunky book to read next. The second thing that's putting me off, which I would say is outside of my comfort zone right now, are series books. I am completely in series fatigue. I don't like reading series books. I don't like I don't have time to reread books right now, so I'm relying solely on the author's within narrative recap at the beginning of a series book. I don't love it. Series books, out of my comfort zone right now. Now the third thing that is outside my comfort zone is hardback books, especially hardback books that I've bought myself, but hardback books in general. I know that the US has a big hardback book thing going on. It's kind of a smaller thing in the UK. There are definitely books that come out in hardback, but not... For me, generally, a lot more of my books, like the majority of my books, are paperbacks. Those are the books that I read, that I buy. I do have quite a few hardback books on my shelves, and those are the ones that sit on there the longest, because hardback books are not hugely portable, and even if they're nice, slim hardback books, I still put them off because I don't know why. Outside my comfort zone, obviously. Non-fiction! I don't read a lot of non-fiction. I always say to myself I'd really like to read more non-fiction, but when it comes down to actually finding and picking and reading non-fiction books, it just does not happen. I have read 2 non-fiction books this year. I thought that was pretty incredible for me, and it's just one of those things. Non-fiction books, I just don't relate or connect to them in the same ways that I do a fiction book. I really shouldn't put these final 2 types of books on this list of books outside my comfort zone, because my opinions of them have obviously changed over the last few months and the last years, but they're still gonna be tacked on to this list just because. The first is historical fiction. I used to be a fan way back when, and then I just sort of got it into my head that historical fiction was a topic, a sort of genre, whatever you want to call it, of books that I didn't really find my feet in. And then, you know, lately I've come across quite a few different authors who have helped me in my transition into being a historical fiction fan, but for now I'm still leaving it on this list just because. Final type of book that makes me sort of uncomfortable sometimes to read are short stories. There are definitely collections of short stories that I have enjoyed, but there are far more collections of short stories that I have not enjoyed. So it's a real hit and miss with that for me. Now, the good thing about having a list of books that are outside of my comfort zone is that I have read books in all of these different types this year. It is something that I enjoy doing, is understanding what makes me uncomfortable, understanding the sort of types of stories that I avoid, and trying to read those. So So I do try to read chunky books every now and again. I definitely try to cut down my TBR pile and pick up some of the hardback books that I read. I will try my hardest not to leave the series books or historical fiction or non-fiction when I come across it to the very end. We'll see how it goes in the future. I would love to hear the sort of books that you think are outside of your comfort zone, and do you do anything to pick those books up specifically? I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.